my clock. So let's begin. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to everyone that's on observing, and hopefully it will go as smooth as it did yesterday, because I was shocked at how smooth it went. And I don't anticipate any issues, but let's get through it and leave some time for discussion, hopefully. So we're going to start this morning with DID. Amanda's here. Morning. So why don't you start and talk about critical items first, and then get into each account. And if you would, before discussion, just give me the number, because I have my two computers and I'm trying to find the accounts as we go, because my questions are there. So Amanda, take it over, please.
Absolutely. So good morning, everyone. So we'll try to keep this a smooth morning, like you said you had yesterday. So the Department of Infrastructure and Development has 6 different orgs, and I'll hit the critical items in each one. So as you said, Jack, the first one is 19,000. And this is our planning org. It's relatively small. It just has 1 employee in it. And you'll see a significant reduction in this org because the zoning code rewrite was funded this year, and it is not funded in FY22. So for our operating spreadsheet, this one shows a significant reduction. Our next org is 25,100, 25100. And this is the building permits and inspections team. This has 4 staff in it. And this one has level funding. So there's really no critical items in these operating accounts this year. The next org is 31.
Let me check and make sure, see if anybody has any questions.
Please.
Anybody have any questions about either of those? No. Okay. I'm seeing shaking heads. That's good. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. Stop me whenever.
Okay.
The next org is 31,000. And this is our general engineering org. And so this has all of the rest of the staff of the department, along with 2 other orgs. So this has 23 employees and the associated operating expenses. So the things I just wanted to note out of 31,000 is we are still funding the annual request that we get from Wicomico Environmental Trust for the Creek Watchers program. Last year, we had increased that to $10,000, and we were able to hold that at the same level. So that's being funded at $10,000. You'll also see a couple of CIP items that actually are funded through operating in this account, and that's the street maintenance and paving and concrete curb and gutter. And I am pleased with the level that this got increased significantly over last year. Last year for street maintenance, we had $375,000, and this year it's $625,000 in FY22. So not quite double, but a significant increase. So that's a lot more streets that can get paved this year.
That's one of the questions that I had. And can you equate that to? I know that we've ranked each of the streets by need. Would this bring us down at least a level in terms of criticality, or
it's getting us there. I can't say that we're taking a whole level off, but it's interesting. Will White and I were just talking about the levels yesterday, and would like to show them differently next year. In addition to the condition level, a level of how much the street is used, if it's a critical street, if it's a smaller residential, is it a big arterial street, so that you can also see how we're ranking these, because we try to prioritize by level first, but then also by use. So you'll see that next year in my CIP presentation. We're also looking at trying to redo the condition survey next year. Our condition survey was from 2013. And even though we go out and try to keep it current, it's always helpful to have an outside vendor do that work, so that it's, not city staff making that decision. So that is something we'd like to do in this next year as well.
Any questions about, any other questions about that or comments?
I would just say, occasionally, maybe a couple times a year, send out these lists and updates to city council members, because if there's one question we get all the time, it's about the potholes in the streets and everything like that. So that would be helpful to us informationally, so we can have something at our hands.
That's great. We can certainly do that.
Okay, nothing
Okay.
else? Go ahead, Amanda.
The next org is 60850, and that's the Stormwater Utility. And there's a couple things I wanted to note from this one. This is the fund where we provide funding for the Chesapeake Bay Trust grant program. Last year, we had increased that to $75,000, and I've kept that at the same level of funding for next year. We were able to fund 2 projects this year with that $75,000, one that was a restoration project and one that was primarily outreach. So it was a good level of funding, and we'll keep it the same. Additionally, we have addressed a $5,000 request from the Maryland Sea Grant Extension Office for the Watershed Stewards Academy. We're really pleased that they're bringing the Watershed Stewards Academy to the Eastern Shore. And this is a long course that I think they're looking for about a dozen or so participants to really learn about the watersheds and being a steward of the environment. And it's an intensive course that will culminate in a project. And we've talked to them about some project ideas, and Alyssa Hastings will be our staff representative. But they've done this with success throughout the state. So they had asked Salisbury and I believe Wycomico County to each fund $5,000 to help cover the costs of that for this year. So that is included in our stormwater utility ask. And then I also wanted to note that again, this year, we're covering the costs of our BMP, our best management practice, or our bioretention area maintenance contract. So if you recall, last year was the first year, this current fiscal year was the first year it was funded. We had put that out to bid and hired a contractor. They will do the maintenance of the bioretention areas on Main Street, as well as some other stormwater facilities throughout the city that are city owned. And they will do that during the growing season from April to October. So they actually just came down last week and did their first maintenance. So Main Street bioretention areas are looking really good right now. They're working closely with field ops as well as DID's stormwater inspector on those maintenance activities. So that is again funded in 60850 again this year.
Any questions on that? Give me 1 second because I'm trying to find out where I am. 60810.
Oh,
Questions from anybody, comments?
I have a
Yes,
question.
Angela, go ahead.
Amanda, I'm trying to link this back to making sure that I think it was HCDD requested some software for stormwater management mapping. Is that something you suggested or would recommend? I know they've somebody last year requested it. I had it on my notes from last year too, but I didn't hear you say anything in your presentation about that software.
Yeah, so I believe what you're referring to is the Hydrocad software that the
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't actually recommend it, and I
Okay.
can speak to that a little bit. So this was requested last year by the personnel committee, and so at that time, the engineering supervisor and I looked into why we would have it, and we did not feel that it was necessary for us to have. And I'll just try to address it briefly. So when we review plans, we get a very detailed stormwater report from the consultants. And I mean, they're thick, it's binders worth of paper. And so they have modeled the hydraulics of the stormwater system, and we review that in great detail. But we don't require consultants to use a specific software. And we don't require them to give us the raw data from that software. So the request for the software is for stormwater plan review. We would then have to require consultants to use that specific software and give us the raw data. It would enable us to manipulate the data, which I don't think is necessary. And I'm concerned that it would extend and take our reviews much, much longer, because we then are playing in the raw data and in the model instead of looking at the results and reading the report that the consultant has given us for the model.
Okay.
So the engineering supervisor did not recommend purchasing this. we did communicate that last year. So I was surprised to learn this week that it was in the request again, but we will reconvey why we do not believe that that is necessary. And I really don't want to make our consultants utilize one software over another. That makes me uncomfortable. And I'm also very, very concerned that this would extend our review times.
Fair enough. I'll next day it. I just kept hearing it and I just wanted to make sure. I thank you for that.
Sure. Yeah,
very much.
absolutely. No, thanks for asking.
Yeah, my question is very similar because I know we've discussed this before, and that's the plotter.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
And I've actually responded to her a little bit, Heather, a little bit on this one, and said, you know, you really need to look at outsourcing and a lot of other things before we start, because I used to be in the equipment business, and plotters were under part of my and they can be a how should I put it, a deep well that you have to keep sinking money into, and they don't get you on the plotter, they get you on the maintenance, and that's pretty much historical. But yeah, I remember we discussed that, and I'm sure you don't feel any different than you did then.
Yeah, well, and so actually this year we did get a quote to replace the plotter, and we had the company come in to do routine maintenance and repairs, and they feel like it's not at its end of its useful life. So they were able to do some repairs this year. Obviously this year we have actually been using a lot less paper also. But we have a quote, so I know how much it would cost. It is very expensive. And like you said, we've not looked into other options. When developers submit plans, they submit paper plans to us as well as electronic. So yeah, we would really need to evaluate that. But at this point, it's functional, it's working fine. I did not see the need to include that in the budget this year, but I do have a quote, so I'm aware how much it costs. I guess that's one of the challenges with the personnel committee. They don't necessarily know what went into the budget or you know, what research we had done. But anyway, happy to answer those questions.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, what's the cost of the plotter now?
It was just over $15,000.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's significant. Yeah, that's a big one.
yeah, that wasn't the cost when I was involved. I tried to get them to raise it, but they wouldn't. Anyway, okay, well, we got
Okay.
next.
So there's two more orgs in DID, and then I wanted to hit personnel and some other items.
Okay.
So the last two orgs, it's 81080, which
Yep.
is water engineering. So this is again a third of 23 employees. This is a third of their salaries in the operating. And there were no critical items or no significant changes in this org this year. It's level funding. Okay, and then the last one is 84080, which is sewer engineering. It mirrors the water engineering accounts. And again, no critical items or significant changes. This is also level operating.
Anybody have any questions on either of those two items? Either of those two areas? No. I see heads nodding. Okay.
Okay, so I should have said at the beginning, I have all the spreadsheets and backup if we need to look at anything, but I thought it was better to not screen share, but still going down. So my next thing I wanted to hit was personnel items. We do have a career ladder advancement this year for the building inspector, as well as we did a little bit of restructuring and have a couple of other advancements. Our sustainability coordinator will become a sustainability specialist. Our planning tech will become a planner one, and all this was done within our existing salary structure. We also had one tuition request, and this is one employee that's continuing to pursue a master's. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention because that person is so appreciative of this, and it's a wonderful program. So I wanted you to know that there are employees taking advantage of it and are incredibly appreciative to have that assistance with their education.
Fantastic.
So on our essential items, we had career ladders for the CAD operators, inspection team, sustainability team, and transportation team. And as I said, there was one inspector that is in the career ladder advancement for this year. And additionally, my only other essential item was assistance with our sustainability plan. And that was a request for $20,000, which is in the plan, in the budget right now to be funded. And this is really for public engagement assistance. So with the Environmental Policy Task Force and with our internal staff, we are working towards developing a formal sustainability plan, which will incorporate more than just the topics from the task force. And so we are looking to hopefully an agency like Beacon or someone like that to help us really with public engagement and reach a wider audience within the city to make sure that we're addressing everything that people really want to hear about in this plan.
Great.
That was all my essential items. So I did want to touch on really quickly the fee increases for the Department of Infrastructure and Development, because we had a lot this year and some of them are a little bit minor, but I did want to highlight some of these. So we have what's known as break permits and obstruction permits. And a break permit is if you're breaking the street or a sidewalk and you're repairing them. Obstruction permits is anytime you're obstructing a street or a sidewalk, like with a dumpster or a lane closure or something. So those permits have always been relatively inexpensive, $25 and $10 relatively, and that really doesn't cover any staff time. So this year we really looked at retooling those and making it a tiered permit system so that we can address the complexity of a permit, because not all of these are created equal. Sometimes a lane closure or street closure could require a traffic control plan. And so that takes significant staff time to review. And that's pretty rare for you know, a residential property that's putting out a dumpster. That's still the lowest tier and the least expensive. But if you're doing a multi-day street closure, that's a little bit more expensive and a more complex review. So we broke those out into tiers this year. Additionally, our license to encumber, which you're familiar with because we talked about this last year with the small cells. We had created a fee structure for the small cells. We've now created a fee structure for all license to encumber permits. We did not have one before, but again, it does take significant staff time to review. We did research throughout other towns and have increased our plan review, subdivision review fees, and historic district commission fees. And all of those together, those ones that I just talked about are kind of small in the scale of revenues. It's only about $21,000 is what I'm projecting, although I don't really know how many of each tier will get in. But again, I think it's important to stay with the industry standard and make sure that we are, you know, getting the value for what we put into these permit reviews. But the biggest fee increase is our stormwater utility. So when the stormwater utility was passed in 2015, it was set at a rate of $20 per single family property, or ERU, equivalent residential unit. So we have not increased that since 2015. And this year we are proposing an increase to $25 per single family property. And this would increase revenues in the stormwater utility by $160,000. So it would go from approximately generating revenue of $640,000 to about $800,000 for stormwater projects. And you can see, and actually next I'll highlight the CIP, we have more and more projects that are stormwater related. And this also funds, oh yes.
Could you just give me the figures again of the
Absolutely
old fee and the new fee?
Yes, so it was $20 per equivalent residential unit. It's going to 25.
Okay.
Before we were generating approximately $640,000 a year in revenue. We were anticipating now that we will generate approximately $800,000 a year in revenue. And I will say that's contingent upon the new aerials. We had new aerials flown this year, and we work with ESRGC from Salisbury University to map out the impervious surface. So if there is more impervious, the revenues will go up a little bit, but based on last year's impervious, we're estimating about $800,000. So again, the increase was $160,000.
Gotcha. Okay. And Keith, that's something that you recommended based on our initial discussions, correct? You're on mute.
It is, Jack. Keith.
You know,
I think he's doing double duty at the moment.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
It is.
That's okay.
It is
I
something-
just want to confirm that that's what it was.
Yeah, and knowing that there are unlimited projects that we could be doing out there to combat and mitigate climate change. I think this is just a fair increase here to continue that work to really make our travelers and vehicles a little bit more manageable with flooding and things like that. We'll be able to chip away at some of these projects.
Yeah, I think that, in our discussion about debt service, we don't want to push keep pushing the bubble down the road and having somebody at some point in time have to commit to significantly more increases. We've been very careful to increase and below what the recommendations were. And I think it's time now that we start to catch up a little bit in that. So thank you. That answers that question. I apologize for interrupting.
Oh, no problem. And I will mention for the stormwater utility, there is the ability for properties that meet current stormwater code to apply for a credit. And we've never had anyone apply for a credit. This is still a relatively small increase, so it's yet to be determined if we will see some different properties apply for a credit, but all of that information is on DID's website under stormwater. So,
Gotcha. Thank you.
So the last thing.
Any other questions from
Oh,
from the council? No, I'm seeing no. Okay.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to just touch on today, Keith had asked me to bring up the general capital improvement plan projects. So general capital projects. The first thing I really want to highlight, and I'm sure you've discussed this already in the financial summary, is we can now tell you how much we came in under budget on Main Street Master Plan. I had alluded to it at the ribbon cutting, but we had just over $2 million left in the Main Street accounts, which is tremendous. And so you'll see in the CIP that we're reallocating $1.8 million to other projects. So this is money that was already earmarked for Main Street that now we can reallocate and keep using for other projects. So we're really proud of that. The rest of that money is going to other things associated with Main Street and that area like St. Peter's Street and other street furnishings and other improvements like that.
And what was the total?
So the
Yep.
total under budget was just over $2 million,
Okay.
but we're proposing to reallocate $1,843,000 to projects in the CIP this year. So that's tremendous and definitely a testament to the staff that worked on this and the contractors and this last, you heard me talk before about the method that we used to construct this, and it really was successful for this last phase. So we're pleased with that. So the CIP projects this year, one of the big new things that you've seen is that we are able to fund some of the Vision Zero transportation safety projects. And we're very excited about that. There's speed awareness programs, additional crosswalks and pedestrian signals. And this is the first time that we're able to fund any Vision Zero projects. We have the continuation of the City Park Master Plan, and this year that would be lighting improvements as well as some other improvements in the park. We had had that designed a couple of years ago to replace the lighting and make it more pedestrian friendly. And we've talked to some members of the Park Commission, and we're very conscious of the Dark Skies Initiative, and we'll make sure there's a shield in the lights so that it's directing the light downward and not upward from the park. This also includes money for the Bicycle Master Plan and Rail Trail Master Plan, as well as downtown streetscaping. There's a project for the Market Street shoreline improvements is being funded, and this is to stabilize the shoreline along Market Street between the Circle Avenue Bridge and the new pedestrian bridge, and it's been eroding dramatically over the years. That's been designed, and we actually have all of the permits. So when July 1 rolls around, that'll be one of the first projects we get out to bid. Let's see what else was included that I wanted to highlight. So there are some stormwater projects, as we talked about. Up on Northwood Drive, there's a relatively large culvert replacement project at Brewington Branch, and that's an area where we've had washouts in the past. So that is funded this year in part from the Stormwater Utility. And we included, there's a significant project to do stream restoration on Beaver Dam Creek, which is just downstream from Beagland Park Drive. So it's upstream of the zoo. We've applied for grant funding from the state, and I should hear on that in the next month. So what we've put in here is the design associated with that, and hopefully that is something that we can get funded. We've put in a few different grant applications, actually more than normal, on bicycle projects, rail trail projects, and some stormwater projects. So hopefully we'll be successful here in the next few months in helping to fund these projects. So
Great.
any questions?
I do. Amanda, I remember some years ago, it's been, ain't like I've been on council a lot of years, but I've been on quite a few, that they were talking about putting cameras in the city park. Did they ever do that?
I think the SPD, I don't know, Julia, if you know if SPD has done that yet, or?
April, the question was in the city park?
Yeah,
Not yet.
okay. Security cameras, and I remember that, and I'm just wondering if that had come to fruition. So if not, has anybody ever thought anything further into that as far as using some of this other money that's being reallocated? Or no?
So the police department, it has cameras, and we're working with the Department of Information Services to figure out where the best location for them based off of
Okay.
data. We are looking along the Riverwalk or downtown. I don't really think there's a strong argument for the park. We don't have a lot of issues there. So that's the direction we're heading in, but we're still doing sort of I don't know what Bill would call it, just the engineering of the cameras to make sure it all works out.
Yeah, because I know it was a big issue one time about the city park because of child abduction. And, I know that I've never heard anything about it anymore. So that's why I asked. I never heard anything else about it after.
Yeah, and we've worked hard with Amanda's team and Alyssa and Field Ops to manage the park through environmental design, what is that called, CEPTED, with the police department. So trimming down some of the growth along the river, so you have clear lines of sight and things like that. So we haven't discussed the park as an issue, so we're not moving in that direction anymore.
I just asked the question because I remembered it, and being though we had some money to reallocate, I was wondering if it had been done and if we could take some, if it was necessary, or a great need if we could, take some money from.
Well, the money from the Main Street project, I think it has, because some of it's grant money and it's bonded specifically for, a lot of it has to stay within that realm of stormwater projects, streetscaping, stuff like that. The security cameras would have to come, that would be something else.
Well, I understand that too, but I still ask that question, because well, I was kind of up in him because we never heard any more about it. And that's why I asked.
Certainly from a security standpoint, should have stuff around bends, red swings, entrances, exits, zoo, that's kind of like, Walmart, we call it the Code Adam shots, which is, when there's a missing child. So, and those would be the hot points, and be able to get tags and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. LPS.
Thank you, April.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions? I have a couple of comments. Yeah, it's $2 million under budget. I don't remember a project coming in like that, and you guys are to be commended for sure, and as well as the management of the project. I do have a couple other one other question when you were talking about reallocation. It came to mind. Where are we with the streets and the ADA compliance on the corners?
So that is something that we'll be chipping away at every year with our curb gutter and sidewalks. And as we pave streets, we bring their sidewalks and the ADA ramps up to compliance. So we have looked at and gotten an estimate throughout the town, which is daunting, but we did include in the Vision Zero projects this year a specific CIP project for ADA upgrades. So in addition to what we do with streetscaping, we have, I believe it's $50,000 this year just for ADA upgrades. So again, we will try to prioritize that in high pedestrian traffic areas, and you know, look at needs there. But yeah, this is again the first time we have specific funding for ADA upgrades that aren't just with street, you know, street projects.
Fantastic. That's great. Great news. I think that's all the questions I have. I don't see anybody else that has questions. So thank you, Amanda. We appreciate it. Keep up the good work. You have a great department. You have some good people in there, and a lot of good people.
Definitely.
So, yeah, and
Great.
the budget makes a lot of sense, and best of luck with your new projects and you're going to tackle.
Great. Thank you all for your time. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Okay, I see Corey's on. Good, so we're ready to go. Anybody need a break? Are we okay? We'll do one more and then take a break. So Corey's on. Corey, if you would, the way we've been doing this, and it's been working pretty well, is as you go through each account, just give us the account number before you start. And if you want to handle the critical items before, that would be great. Or you want to do it after, that's fine too. Whatever you choose. So the floor is yours, Corey.
Okay, good morning. First, I just wanted to start by saying, as it has been for everyone, this has been a really difficult year for our department. You know, COVID has hit hard and we've had to make so many changes. And I feel like my employees really stepped up to the challenge this year. We've had to, you know, move everybody apart, stagger their start and stop times, their lunch times. You know, little departments within our department have not even talked with each other and not been able to really be together. And so it's been difficult. COVID's been scary for them. You know, COVID's in the wastewater. And I just feel like my employees really rose to the challenge. So I'm really proud of them for that. So just wanted to start saying that. I could hit on the, you know, essential items first. We really don't have too much. One thing we do have is we're asked for a new maintenance operator at the water plant. We've been asking for that for the last couple of years. We only have one maintenance operator on the water side right now, and it's just not enough to keep up, especially with how we're growing and everything else. So the additional person will help us to be a little more proactive with some of the, you know, water issues. And as we're finding, you know, water infrastructure is more and more important. I think water's been in the news more this year than any time else with the Florida hack and the infrastructure weather issues down in Texas. So we really need to be mindful of our water system. So additional maintenance will be helpful. So we're looking forward to another position. We have several people, or quite a few people actually, 5 at the water plant and 14 on the wastewater plant that are looking to have a move this year on the career ladder. They're working towards their goals and taking the steps, so they will be looking forward. Most won't hit till January, but we're looking for some career ladder movement here this year. Let's see, we had, I have one late entry I had to the budget that didn't get in at the mayor's level, but when we started looking at employee evaluations this year, we had one young lady at the wastewater treatment plant lab, and she kind of, Rebecca Connor, she really stood out when we started sitting down and looking at it, because this year we did COVID testing in our wastewater for MDE, and no one at the plant really wanted to get involved at that at first because we didn't want to get too up close and personal with the COVID. And Rebecca took the lead on that and agreed to step in and, don all the gear, take the samples. She had to take them back in the lab, and she had to run them through some tests in the lab before they could be packaged and shipped off to the MDE lab. So, and she did a great job of that, and our metrics matched up with, what was going on in our area at the time. with the hospital's metrics. So we feel like Rebecca really took on a big overhaul, really did a fantastic job, and really stepped up this year and was really brave to do that. So I kind of went to Julie and Andy at the last minute and said, is it too late to recommend her for a merit increase this year? And it was too late at the mayor's level, so they said I could bring it up here. So I would like to recommend her, and I believe the paperwork's attached with your budget for a 4% merit increase. And there's a memo attached as well. It explains a little bit more about her job, and on her evaluation, she scored all 4s this year because of the not only with the COVID, but the work she does in the lab. She's really good, not someone we'd like to lose.
All right, I put that down, Corey. Keith, if you could put that on the plus minus list.
Yeah, I've posted.
Great, thank you.
I will recuse myself from any conversation about her merit increase because her and her husband are personal friends of mine.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. You ready to start on the items?
Sure.
All
Okay.
right,
the
where
first
would you like to start? What account?
82075 is water.
Yep.
Okay. We actually came in lower this year because we were able to move around our operating accounts within our operating accounts and move some money around. We decreased our skilled services account, which is the 3600, and we had to increase our outside labs. But like I said, everything was within, increased our repairs and maintenance, decreased lands and ground. The biggest thing I wanted to hit on both water and wastewater is we decreased our chemicals on the water side, $21,000 from last year. I know last year budget, I talked about our chemical bids were going out to bid. We were expecting prices to be higher based from what vendors had told us. And actually we made out pretty well in the bid process, and we actually came in a little lower on a couple of chemicals. So we've got it tight this year, but we were able to decrease by $21,000 on the water side. So that helped us a lot. Electricity has a slight increase of $7,000 based on what the energy consultant recommended. But, overall this year electricity is down, but a lot of things weren't up to normal this year because a lot of places were held back. But overall, this budget really doesn't have any increases.
Questions from the council? I just want to make sure, Corey, that the increase in the salaries non-clerical, that's the person you put in, the new person?
Yes, and
Okay.
last year the position was switched from an administrative office assistant to an administrative assistant, which was a pay grade higher. So that's why
Gotcha.
there's an increase.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have on that one. Yep.
Hey, Corey, what do you think's attributing to the electricity? I know the consultant said they were projecting a certain amount, but your costs are much lower than what's been budgeted the past couple of years.
Yeah, this year, businesses have been shut down for a large part of the year. Earlier in the year, we weren't pumping like we were on both sides, and I think that's attributed to a lot of it. We've had more people at home, but we haven't had, we just haven't seemed to have had to run as hard. Schools have been out. Schools are huge. They use so much water. And when the kids aren't in school, we're not pumping like we normally do. It's almost like Christmas for us, So we've really cut back a lot this year. And I think that's a large part of it. But I don't expect it to be that way next year. I think I'm hoping things will be back to normal and everybody will be back in school. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, next item up, Corey.
Okay, the next one is 8,300, and that is the water admin account. And that's pretty much exactly as it was last year. The only difference is I increased the office account and decreased the lands and grounds account to take care of that. Our offices, we haven't been in our office in over a year, and we're having it rebuilt this year down at the park plant. And then I anticipate some needs for some new office equipment when we do that. So that's why I increased that on both the 8,300 and 8,700 account. But it was all within the operating budget, so there's no increases.
Corey, I see one under 513060, which is administrative. There's a $21,000 or 11% increase. What is that for? Is that step?
No, I'll let Keith speak to that because he does that.
Okay, Keith?
You're muted, Keith.
It probably is best to let me drill down on that and then report back.
Okay, fine. I'll make a note. Okay, any other questions from the council? On water admin. Don't hear any, don't see any. Okay, we're ready to go. Next one.
Okay,
Right.
the next one will be 86083, and that's wastewater treatment. And I guess the biggest one to mention here, which I already talked about a little bit, is the chemical account, and that's 546004. We held that right where it was last year. It's going to be tight, but I think it's going to work. Connie wanted to increase it about $20,000, but I worked it, the numbers a couple times. I think we're good. I think we're going to make it. So we'll find out, but we didn't raise that at all. And I think that's big. You know, we're tightening down with the chemicals there, and the cost coming in lower was really good. We decreased the travel a little bit because we don't anticipate a lot of travel post-COVID. The electricity actually decreased another $30,000 based on what the energy consultant was recommending, and I think that's good too. But we still don't have a good grip on the electricity there because this year was, again, it was out of the ordinary, so we don't know. And then we had to increase the sludge generation fee. And that's a fee that comes from MDE, and it usually runs about a year behind. So we had to transfer some money this year to cover that fee. So we're increasing it in anticipation for next year. But other than that, everything was moved around within the operating account. So we really didn't have any increases.
And you have a new vehicle coming, right?
Yeah,
There's yeah, that was in the CIP.
right. Yeah.
Okay. Questions from the council? Corey, just for my edification, I don't have the fee schedule on this slide. What percentage increases on the fee for sludge? Do you remember?
I
You
want to say,
can get back to me with that if you don't have
okay.
it.
I'm going to say something that would probably be wrong, so let me get back
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, just get back to me.
All right.
Any other questions from anybody or comments?
No, I just, want to have you make sure you let your team know we appreciate everything they do. We know it was a challenging year, and it's one of those, both of these departments are ones that nobody really thinks of, but it's probably the most important departments in our city because it manages a lot, and we appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you. Yeah, and we're trying to let the employees know that we're appreciating them. We're trying to keep them involved. And I have to say, now the vaccines are coming around, people are starting to smile and come out again, and it just seems like a happier place. So that's good.
Okay, next.
Okay, the next is 86086, and that's the pre-treatment.
Yep.
And there were no changes here at all, other than we have 2 employees that could make the career ladder step this year. So,
Any questions? I don't have any. Okay, no questions.
okay, and then the last one is 8700, and that's our sewer admin. And again, with that one, I that's just for Laura and I increased our office account and decreased the land and grounds just to move some money around to cover that, so we can you know, restock our office when I anticipate our offices will be rebuilt by fall, and then we'll be moving back in and we'll have to get some things. This is down in the park plant. So.
Oh, by the way, did you get your new bathroom finished?
At the park plant?
No, that wasn't at the park. Where did we approve the,
That was at
Oh,
the,
yes. Yeah, that's out here, Paleo. Yeah, that finished like a year ago. Yes. That's
okay.
real nice. It's got a shower, it's got 2 bathrooms. Yeah. And now
the-
we're tearing the other one out and increasing the size of the lab. Yeah. Yeah, it's real nice. You should drop out the plant and check it out sometime. Anybody.
Oh, well, the last time it wasn't, last time I was there, it wasn't in good shape, but I can't wait to see it because I know everybody was looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And now we have a shower here on site for the
That's
guys.
great.
That's really good. Yeah.
I do have a question on this one. It's probably Keith's going to have to get it, where there's a significant increase in the administrative.
What
17.
account was that? What account was that?
8,700.
Sewer admin.
Okay, I'll look that up and report back.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, that's the last of the budget accounts. The only other thing I had was I had some market rate increases that I had put in for, I had 14 of my employees that I had asked for, who were part of the market rate increase from last year. And these are our long-term senior employees, and they didn't receive as much as a pay raise. So I was asking for 2% for those particular employees, just to try and hold them here for longevity reasons. We're still struggling with hiring practices. We're still struggling with other utilities stealing senior employees. So just wanted to mention that because I feel like these employees are valuable. And it's tough right now. Hiring's still tough. We've still got vacancies. We're still struggling. I did just talk yesterday with Wycomico County, as I talked last year. We're going to start the internship with the schools this summer, and hopefully we'll get some employees out of there after they graduate high school. But we weren't able to get that started this year because of COVID and schools being out. But we're going to get that going. But we are really struggling to hire.
It's a great opportunity, I think.
Yeah.
If we get them in there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good program. I'm hoping, because it's going to be part of their school curriculum as well. And we're going to be able to pay them a part-time salary. So I think it's going to work out really well. Not only that, this is kind of starting all over the state. I'm working on some other water boards, the Water and Wastewater Operators Association. We've already, we're also working on getting apprenticeship programs going on elsewhere in the state, because this is a real problem, hiring operators. We're really struggling, and it's not just here. So
well, thank you, Corey. We appreciate it. It's certainly refreshing to know that the water that we're putting into the river is the best, probably in one of the best in the state. And, you know, those numbers compared to where we were is really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The plant seems to be working really well, so that's a
Yep.
good thing.
And if we keep it running the way it is, and you guys do your job, we're gonna be in good shape. So thank you again, and please tell your staff thank you on behalf of all the council people. Anybody else, any comments before the break? No? Okay, thank you, Corey. We'll take a 10-minute break, which puts us at, well, yeah, let's start up around 9:35. How's that? Okay? Thank
Okay,
you, everybody.